Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here's your host, Father Jay Friedel.
Well, welcome back to Faith in Our Hometown, our regular show where we get together every week and discuss with members of the community what's going on in our lives as people of faith and as members of the greater Joplin area. This morning is an anniversary show for us. This is actually, we begin today our second year, our second season of Faith in Our Hometown, which I don't know that we'd be proud of ourselves for surviving that long, or I'm hoping that we're providing a service that continues to grow in the greater Joplin area for everyone so that we can continue to have conversations that matter. My guests this morning are going to be Gordon Kyler, who's the spiritual leader at Unity Joplin, and Aaron Brown, who's the lead pastor over at St. Paul's United Methodist Church. And Aaron and Gordon were among our first guests, and they're sometimes among our most frequent guests. So we've invited them this morning to talk a little bit about our first year, having our first anniversary, and of course, because Happy New Year, today is New Year's, we're also going to talk a little bit about what that kind of means for us as people of faith. So we'll be right back after this Mercy Minute.
Find out how a Mercy doctor can take care of you. At Mercy, your life is our life's work. Quality, safety, and an exceptional patient experience. Mercy is grateful to be recognized as one of the top 15 health systems in the United States. At Mercy, your life is our life's work.
So welcome back, everyone, and again, Happy New Year. My guests this morning, Gordon Kyler from Unity of Joplin and Aaron Brown from St. Paul's United Methodist. So gentlemen, welcome back. Happy New Year to both of you. And we've managed to do this for a year now. Isn't that pretty amazing? We made it for a year. So you guys have been on, probably more so than most of our other guests, because sometimes when we want to do topical shows, we invite back some of the people that were with us from the beginning. So how do you think the first year went? Have you had a chance to even
really
very
fast,
incredibly
fast?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say. Somebody said the other day when we were starting season 2, and I'm like, really? Does that mean we've been so 50? This is our 53rd, show, so which is not bad.
I just think of some of the things I've been a part of, or sitting watching other guests, and talking about human trafficking, and the guest who was an atheist and talked about his faith, and just a variety of faith conversations.
Some of your students.
Well, it's been pretty incredible.
Well, I just enjoy the conversation, and I'm hoping that our viewers are enjoying the conversation as well. Sometimes it's good to talk to people other than just your own.
Yes.
Talking to your own is good because, obviously we'd be out of business if they didn't want to listen to us talk from time to time. But it's also good sometimes to hear a different voice, somebody who looks at the world a little bit differently. I know that was one of the things I always used to tell my students was, our role in here, obviously each one of us has to figure out how we're going to do it our own way, which is a good thing. But sometimes it's always good to listen to somebody else enough so that you can start to see the way they see reality, rather than always just the way that you think is reality for everyone.
Right.
And
I think that was the whole purpose of why you begin to do this, is so that it could be a conversation to let folks know that maybe aren't so interested in being a part of a church, or don't have a lot of connection with a faith community, to say, hey, we can get along, we can have conversations, we may be very different in lots of different ways, but we can sit at a table and drink our coffee and
not throw the cups at each other.
No, well, there are those commercial breaks where that happens.
We don't. What happens on the break stays on the break.
But I think it is. It's been great for me to be a part of this, and just because Gordon, you and I met here on the set, and had a chance to visit. visit that way. And you and I met really because of this. So,
Right, exactly.
I think that's great stuff.
Yeah. Now we originally started into the 2-person format. We kind of changed that to a 1 guest most of the time. We have done a few shows.
Everybody's been
where we've done
talking
2.
about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And part of the reason was for that, just where we tape and those kinds of things. Sometimes it's really good to get to, to know somebody a little bit more in depth. And so that's why we've kind of shifted to, kind of going a little bit deeper than, doing the panel. The original plan was to actually have 3 guests, but there was no way we'd all fit around this table without at least them taking shots at the back of my head. And I don't allow shots at the back of my head because then people can see that I don't have any hair back there.
Make that 2 of us.
Yeah, 3
Okay.
of us.
All right. Well, there we go. See, that's why we get these face shots here. Well, it's New Year's.
Yeah.
So again, New Year's is a time of the year when we, a lot of people make resolutions. Some people got their lists out and they, sat down last night or the last few days and made their lists of the different ways they're going to change their life. So we've got a new year here. I don't know that we're going to change so much about the show as, maybe as people of faith, maybe we need to make some changes. Is that part of what goes on at New Year's?
It is. In Unity, we have a ceremony we do every New Year's.
New Year's
it's
Day or New Year's Eve?
Well, part of it New Year's Eve, and part of it, well, this year it'll be on New Year's Day because Sunday's the 1st.
Sure.
That's today. We have a 3-part ceremony we do. We write out New Year's Eve, everything we don't want to carry forward into the new year, and we burn it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a service where we actually have a bowl and we burn it. We use flash paper. It's a lot of fun. And then
Now
we
that's
write
a fun
out.
idea. I like that. I might take that.
So
Yeah.
habits and old
Habits,
hurts, hang-ups. and-
baggage we're carrying, old beliefs that no longer serve us, messages we received when we were children that aren't true. We release that. We write down then a letter to ourselves, or some people write it to God, some people write it to Jesus, some people write it to themselves of what they want to manifest in the new year. A stronger faith, greater family relationships, more outreach. That gets sealed. A lot of times it's health, personal stuff. It gets sealed. We don't look at it. They all get put together. We bless them every week. And then they get mailed back at Thanksgiving the
Interesting.
following
The
year.
following Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So they address it to themselves.
And they're
then it
prayed
gets mailed
over
back.
the whole year. And so
Okay.
there's that prayer energy going on, and it's kind of fun to get that and say, wow, I did this, or oh, I got to try that again next year.
Yeah, see, that'd be me. I'd be like, oh my
That's
gosh,
me a lot,
here,
too, yes.
Thanksgiving's here, and I blew it, and
Yep.
yeah.
But I think that
I love
some
the
of the
ceremony,
blessings
though.
of that, one of the blessings of that would be that if you pray over them all year long, you're keeping it in front of everybody
Yes.
in terms of that. Because a lot of times the list that everybody makes, they look at them for the first week,
2 weeks
and,
later.
and then
yeah.
it's already passed. They're already done with it.
Do
So I
you
like
keep
that.
them in a visible spot? So
We
that
have them
when
in a
people
basket in my
gather-
office, and every time we have a staff or a board meeting, we bless them. We put them up sometimes on Sunday mornings. But they're prayed over pretty much every day of the week for 52, well, not quite 52 weeks. but-
Sure.
Yeah.
So what do you got? Do you have any kind of ceremonies to do, new beginnings or anything like that that you pay attention
One
to
of
at the
the
beginning of the year?
one of the things that the founder of the Methodist movement did, John Wesley, has had a watch night service, and on the 31st that spanned over into the first. And one of the key things he did was a covenant that people took part in, and it was a prayer. I actually got a copy of it here in a modern language. He says, this is the prayer to be prayed at midnight, to just tell God, I am no longer my own, but yours. Put me to what you will, rank me with whom you will, put me to doing, put me to suffering, let me be employed for you or laid aside for you, exalted for you or brought low for you. Let me be full, let me be empty, let me have all things, let me have nothing. I freely and wholeheartedly yield all things to your pleasure and disposal. And now, glorious and blessed God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, you are mine, and I am yours, so be it. And the covenant now made on earth, let it be ratified in heaven. Amen. So there was a service that built up to
prayer.
that, a service of prayer and reflection. And, I don't think Wesley had the same idea of writing things out and burning them, but it was definitely a prayerful time of letting go of the past and being prepared to embrace the future and move forward, knowing that, of course, Wesley's idea, I don't know that he originated it, but it was that we move on to perfection,
Right.
that we can, with God's grace, actually in this life attain perfection. He never said that he did, but he said that he'd met a few people that had. Because to say that you can't move on to perfection is to limit God.
Yeah.
So that'd be a good goal to have for
Yes.
this year. You know, I think I'm going to do that. That's going to be a resolution.
You're just going to
Gonna
raise
go
your
for
affection
it.
this
Yeah,
year.
I'm going to go for all of it.
Good for you. I'm sure your congregation will be very pleased. Mine's going to have to keep putting up with me, kind of just the way I am. But I'm going to keep trying. But I am
Keep trying,
going to keep trying.
right? Don't limit God.
You know, it's interesting. We're kind of against Catholics. We're going to come at this again a little strangely to most ears. First of all, we're still we're doing the Christmas season. So this is our octave of the Christmas season. So we celebrate the full week of Christmas, and then plus one, kind of like to show us symbolically that it's that day. So that's what we call an octave, 8 days. So always on the 8th day from Christmas Eve until New Year's Day, we always celebrate different feasts in the middle of that. And of course, this one used to always be a feast, where we would celebrate, Joseph and Mary taking Jesus to the temple, and celebrating the ritual of circumcision, which meant that he was set apart for God in a particular way. We have kind of changed the feast day, in the last number of years, to where on this day we also celebrate the feast of Mary, the Mother of God, and that becomes it's a holy day for all Catholics. So not only do we go to church on Christmas, which this year was easy for everybody because it's Sunday, all right, but we also celebrate the fact that we are, that we've got this feast of rededicating ourselves every year to be more perfected in the way that we live our lives and in our faith. And of course, Mary is our poster child for being the first and the best disciple. She winds up being the poster child for saying, here's how you'd be a good disciple, because Mary, of course, always points us to Jesus, okay? Always points us to Jesus, do whatever he tells you. Or, even as Mary contemplates her son in the scriptures, we need to contemplate Jesus a little bit more. So on that Feast of Mary, the Mother of God, we always focus on New Year's Day. We always focus on that part of the reality that we do that again, and that's kind of the way we can start to end up that great week of Christmas, if you will. We've got other ceremonies though for that whole reconciliation part, but that's what we do around the Christmas time to do some of that. Always before Christmas, we're getting ready for Christmas. We do some of our starting over kind of rituals, and one of the ways that we do that as Catholics in the Sacrament of Reconciliation. So always in preparation for Christmas, we encourage all of our folks to take inventory of their life and look at where they stand in their relationship to God, where they stand in relationship with the brothers and sisters, where they stand in relationship to themselves. And then, of course, as Catholics, we'd always do this in the big group thing, okay? Because that's kind of the way we do it. It's the kind of the herd mentality. So it's just like, okay, we're all going to come together tonight and celebrate God doing this for us, letting us start over all the time. And that becomes part of the ritual that we do even in preparation for Christmas. So for us, New Year's Day is not quite the same, although of course a lot of our people do it. But New Year's Day isn't the focus as much as, because that's, for us kind of a secular feast day, if you will.
In the traditional Christian calendar, the first day of the year is the first day of Advent, which is really that Sunday.
Back in,
right after about Thanksgiving.
4 weeks before, 4 Sundays before Christmas.
Right, so, traditionally, Advent begins the Christian year.
And that really for us is more when we would do our religious version of what happens for everybody else at New Year's on the secular calendar in terms of doing those things.
Right. And it's about preparing,
getting ready.
Spiritual house cleaning, prepare your soul, draw deeper into God's heart.
Exactly. Well, this morning we are having our anniversary show. Happy anniversary, guys. We're having New Year's, so happy anniversary, everyone. And we're talking a little bit about new beginnings. And so we'll probably come back to talking a little bit about maybe some of our own new beginnings or some of the things we might hope for ourselves, although you're going to be perfect.
Perfection.
But we're going to do that right after this Mercy Minute. So thanks for joining us this morning. Don't go away. We're going to be right back.
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
Well, thanks for joining us this morning for another episode, the first of our second season of Faith in Our Hometown. Again, my guest this morning, Gordon Kyler, who is over at Unity of Joplin, and Aaron Brown, who's over at St. Paul's United Methodist. For those of you who've never met me before, I'm Father Jay Friedel, and I'm over at St. Peter's Catholic Church here in Joplin and St. Anne's in Carthage. So
You're everywhere, man.
I do.
All over the place.
See, that's really the trick is that I actually really don't work anywhere. I just tell everybody I'm always somewhere else doing something.
They know.
And they fall for it all the time. So yeah, I got to say my people are extremely patient with me, and I probably should give them a shout out for all the different things that I get caught up in, do things like this that I got to give time and energy to. But hopefully it's all with all of us, trying to build up the kingdom, trying to build up, our Joplin area, the greater Joplin area,
right.
trying to build up all of our families that are in our congregations, and, trying to build up for, especially those of us as people of faith, building a better world.
Yeah.
Building a better world.
what it's
As
about.
part of that, we do some of that as individually. So we know we got to start sometimes here before we start mouthing it to everybody else. Danger of preaching. They always want you to follow what you say.
Right.
Practice that
Yes.
preaching.
Yeah, so you guys got anything you're willing to share with everybody in terms of maybe what you might do for your own renewal this year? Anything you got going on?
Renewal.
Well, or refocusing, starting over, whatever you need to do.
Second week of January, I'm taking vacation.
That
But
is a wonderful
for me,
thing,
that's
so we're
it's
close.
a very powerful way to renew. To reconnect with family in New Mexico, to kind of center myself back in nature. I spend a lot of time in nature. I feel that's where I feel closest
Yeah.
to God is in nature.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful way to renew. I mean, usually, always when I'm on retreat, I always try to find a place of beauty. Okay, this
Yes.
last year when I did my retreat over the summer, I did it, in Alaska.
Oh my gosh!
Again,
Yes,
because
that
again,
would be
just
the place.
looking at
Yeah.
God's grandeur
Yeah.
is always wonderfully renewing for me.
Yeah.
And I think vacation and getting away from the same routine all
important.
the time is extremely
It is.
important.
It recharges us. It allows us to, like I said, have that personal time with God. In ministry, I don't know about you guys, but it's really easy to get caught up in being out there spiritually all of the time.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember to take that time just to be just one-on-one with God.
Yeah.
One-on-one in prayer, one-on-one in meditation. Even Jesus went into the wilderness
Right.
alone to pray
Often.
and meditate, and then he'd
Often,
come
often.
back out and do the work.
Right?
Yeah.
One trip I have planned in January, just here in a week, is a trip to the Holy Land. So
Wonderful.
my
Good for you.
First journey to Israel, and
great.
going with a group of folks to really see the sites that I've read so many times about,
Exactly.
and actually be there.
Pilgrimages, I think, are great ways. Again, that's an old, ancient spiritual
Yeah.
practice and tradition is, and it's certainly for a lot of the different traditions. Our Jewish ancestors did pilgrimages. Certainly, Christians have done pilgrimages for years. Our Muslim brothers and sisters making Hajj, things like that. All those different ways that many different traditions to do that. But going to places that matter, but going to places where special things happened, going to a place where we can kind of put ourselves in that setting and kind of let that wash over us in a little bit of a different way than we get to do week to week.
Yeah. Have
So
you
I've
been to the Holy Land?
I have actually not. I was gonna take actually a group from the parish a few years ago, and then of course more unrest and doing some of those things, and so nobody wanted to go. I was gonna do the Journeys to St. Paul
I'd like to do that.
last summer, and
Yeah.
then that fell through because again all the stuff that was starting to happen in Turkey, and then nobody wanted to do that either. So who knows? But I do think it's an ancient practice. One of my parishioners over in Carthage keeps wanting me to do the walking trail to St. James in Spain, and do the old pilgrimage trail.
Is it the Santiago?
Santiago, yes, St.
yes.
James, yeah.
Pilgrimage, yeah.
And so, I mean, that was one of those things where, again, one of those ways that people started over, did penance, was that they would start from, several different traveling places throughout Europe, and then they would walk as a way of meditating and doing a little bit of penance. God knows I can afford to do that.
Right.
And kind of reflecting on life and trying to put it back together again, putting things right with God and with everybody else and within themselves. And that was a way to do that by being able to go on pilgrimage, to make the journey to do that.
There's a great power in that. Some years ago, a long time ago, I did a pilgrimage we do in New Mexico that goes to a place called Santuario de Chimayo, Easter. And it's about a 3-day walk. And even, I'm not Catholic, but there's a power and a connection that you experience when you're walking with people. You don't have to be of the same denomination. You're on a spiritual journey and you're on a spiritual journey with others who are on a spiritual journey. And there is a great power and a great recharge and connection that comes out of that.
Yeah. And I know several people who've either, been there or have gone and made that journey to Chamoy,
Yeah.
just again asking God for special graces.
Yeah.
Now again, can you do this from your couch? Sure you can.
Yeah,
Okay?
not as
you
effectively,
can.
I don't think.
You can. But I think you've got to be one of those people that's mostly perfected to be able to do it always from your couch.
Yes.
Okay? And I just find that retreats, pilgrimages, doing that with other people, joining forces to do it, putting those prayers out there every week, some of those things help us. Wesley's prayer, doing that every year, I think would be just a wonderful way as a Methodist to start the new year in terms of those things. And again, we do have a different, these are all ways, again, that can be done from the couch, but I think these are all ways that we as people who work with congregations find ways of energizing our people and have through our traditions through the years.
Yeah.
Starting over, doing something better, doing it new, refreshing ourselves, beginning again.
Well, and that's the whole point of why people do New Year's resolutions. Even though it is just one more revolution around the sun, we have this desire to start fresh. We have this desire, and as random as that day is, it still is a day where, all right, I can, if I want to, do something different. And I haven't thought a lot. I honestly kind of gave up making resolutions a few years ago. A few being 10 or more, because it's just like I've disappointed myself so often. And so what I've tried to do really is to not make resolutions, but to invite God into creating new habits and patterns, or letting old patterns go. Not on one day, but let that be a life journey of really just recalibrating. So if I were to make resolutions this year, it would be like I've got a friend who, one day a month he has a day away. You talk about those refreshing, rejuvenating times. One day a month, on a Saturday, he will take that time away from work, away from family, and just let that be a time. And then he tries to do 1 week a year. So one day a month, 1 week a year, to be separated and to just be in God's presence. I think if I were to make a goal or a resolution, it'd be something like that.
Yeah, I think it's a great one.
Practical things.
It's New Year's Day. Make it right now.
Practical things. I think to get to bed earlier at night. Because I'm always on the verge of being sleep deprived. Just always right there on the edge. If I were to do something good for my body, I think that would be it. And avoid refined sugars and processed foods. So,
well, there you go. You've got a whole list.
Right.
Well, one of the things
tomorrow's the day that starts. Always, every year. That's not just every year. January 2nd.
And again, this is not one of those things, and we all know this, and so does everybody out there who's watching this going, yeah, I'm going to try that harder. These are all things we know we should be doing all the time anyway.
Right.
But there's something special, I think, about finding a new start date.
Yeah.
There's something special about
It's all
finding
about
a new beginning.
hope. The power of hope. That
I don't have to be the way I was.
I don't have to be the way I was. I can be more. I can be better. I can grow. I can heal.
Yeah, I can move beyond where I happen to get stuck.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you about one of my favorite. I don't know why I'm thinking about this now. I use this a lot with couples, and I use it a lot when I'm doing like spirituality, the spirituality section of the, lifestyle classes, or the lifestyle enhancements, or all those kinds of things out at Missouri Southern. When I was doing these at Southeast Missouri State, there was a Methodist minister there, and he basically, when we would be doing our things, I would always just say, talk about what you and your wife do every Friday morning after you get the kids off to school and everything else. And the kids are, of course, the students are doing kind of what you're doing. But what they do is they will sit there and they will take time for each other, and they will just look at each other, and they only ask each other one question. And that one question always is, so how are things with your soul? Now,
it's a very Wesleyan question.
But I'm telling you, it's moments like that when people start talking about how they enhance their marriages in that kind of way, spiritually, as well as all the other ways. I mean, it makes me want to be married, you know? Now I'm not gonna be, but it makes me, appreciate the way somebody else approaches God side by side. And it just makes me marvel at it. And that spiritual practice that they do, that their renewal once a week, and I look at that and go, wow. And I've never forgotten it. I mean, all the years that we did those classes together with a variety of different people all the time. But whenever I was with John, he would talk about that week, that day of the week where he and his wife always set that time aside to do that.
Great question.
That
A
is.
renewal with your soul.
Powerful question.
And maybe that would be a good resolution in general for folks, or maybe not that one, but to take one thing that you do every week rather than some weight loss goal or an exercise goal, or there's nothing wrong with those, but but that'd be certainly an option to say, okay, I want to take on this, or I want to once a week journal, or do something that the goal is in the doing.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's really kind of important for us, to just figure out those ways. What hook am I going to use this year to make it a little bit better for me? What way am I going to do this to make it a little bit better for us? What can I do that's going to make me a better pastor? What can all of us do to, husbands, grandfathers? How do you guys do those things in terms of making it there? So we're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute. Don't go away.
From childhood, whenever I was about 12, I would say, my weight really started climbing and it never really plateaued. I've tried low-carb diets, high-protein diets. I've tried calorie diets. It's very important to Dr. Lou that this is a team effort, so a primary care doctor following up with me regularly. And the dietitian was very helpful on providing recipes and helpful information to help me be successful in my journey. I am very active and I play sports with the kids. We like to go play volleyball. I've done some warrior dashes.
Well, thanks for joining us again for our first show of a second season of Faith in Our Hometown. I've been here this morning with two of my favorite guests who come semi-regularly, Gordon Kyler of Unity of Joplin and Aaron Brown of St. Paul's United Methodist Church. We've been talking this morning about what it is to start over and how we can, as people of faith, renew ourselves. In so many different religious traditions, time is seen not just in a linear way, but as a cycle that keeps repeating upon itself, and that we go over and over and over again. We always come back to some place where we start, or as some of the wise people throughout history would say, where we wind up where we began. When we do those things, it's renewing to us as people of faith. Whether you have one that you practice, whether you don't, it's kind of important for us to continue to renew ourselves as members of the human race, people who reflect on life, people who try to make the world a better place. That's certainly what we've been trying to do here in this last year of Faith in Our Hometown. We're glad that you've been joining us for the conversation. We hope that you'll keep coming back. Continue to stop us in the grocery store, whatever, and tell us about topics you want to hear. But we'll continue to come together and share with each other as people of faith. And this is Faith in Our Hometown.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.